One of the first skills that I teach my clients when they come in is something called containment. As humans, our brains are all over the place, and this is not very good for us. This is why mindfulness practices have been around for thousands of years. We need help focusing and being deliberate about where our mind goes. Containment is a skill that helps with that. So containment is the ability to set everything aside just for now. This is not the same as repression or ignoring. Those processes are unconscious, where we are consciously choosing to set things aside just for now. It's not permanent. In EMDR reprocessing, we cannot replicate the same conditions that the trauma was stored under, which is a state of overwhelm in the nervous system. Containment helps to deliberately pull out one piece of work at a time. So we set aside everything unprocessed, unresolved, and we put it into the container just for now so that we can take things out one by one and deal with them in a manageable way. So the first step in containment is to develop a container. This is done in the mind, so it can really be anything that you want. It can be a treasure chest or a bank vault. I like the tube at the bank that sucks everything in. Tool chest, Tupperware, you name it, as long as it's sturdy and has a lid. So the first step, again, is to create an image of the container in the mind, and we want that to have a lot of sensory detail, including color and texture. There might be a sound as you close the lid. When you open the container, you can design the inside so that it works for you. Sometimes through this process, we start with one container and then it develops over time. Or you might need different containers for different things. For example, I love my kids, but there's times where I don't want them at the forefront of my awareness. However, I'm not going to stick them in a box, so I can contain them somewhere that they want to be, that feels loving and nurturing to them, but where they are set aside for now. All right, so the first step is to develop the container. And next, we're going to practice putting something in it. So containment gets stronger as time goes on. It's useful to start with something that's not the biggest thing, so maybe a 3 out of 10. So we contain the disturbance or the unresolved issue, close the lid, set it aside. The next step is to practice containing everything that's unresolved all at once. Sometimes people want to look at things one by one and they say, I'm putting the job in, I'm putting the taxes in, I'm putting the whatever else, one by one, and then you have to look at them each as you go. Sometimes it's useful to just do an energetic sweep and setting it all aside all at once. Both of these skills take some practice, and we'll do that at the end of this video. All right, so we've developed a container, and then we practice. We go in one by one. We also practice doing all at once. So once we contain, then we can scan through the body and determine if there's anything left that needs to go in. That might be noticeable in the mind of things that we're thinking about. It might be a felt sense in the body. So we'll do a body scan, check for any points of tension or distress. Drop into that and see what it is, and if anything else is willing to be contained just for now. Sometimes there's parts of us that are resistant to this idea for one reason or another. So that on the body scan might be something that you notice that there is some resistance. So if you just take some time to check in with that part and see what it's concerned about, see if you can negotiate, making sure that that part knows it's just for now, that this isn't a black hole, it's just a process to store things temporarily. We're not forgetting about anything, we're not ignoring anything. So just negotiating with any parts that feel distress. See if they're willing to step aside as you contain. And then practice is the next step after you have gone through repeatedly, checking the body over and over until it's clear, making sure everything that's possible to be contained is done. And then again to practice. So containment is really useful in times of transition. So as you leave work, maybe you contain work before you transition to home, or vice versa, as you leave home and transition to work. If you are having trouble focusing on a certain task, you can contain anything unresolved and unrelated to the task that you're doing. And then those other items can be taken back out once you're completed what you're working on. Containment is great before bedtime, allowing yourself to clear the desktop, so to speak, before bed. Sometimes writing can be helpful as you contain, that there's things that you don't want to forget, and so then you just keep ruminating about them. So paper can be a very literal way of containing. Before meditation is another great time to contain, either before or during, as we return to the breath in meditation. We let things go. Sometimes they need somewhere to go versus that more less concrete way of just watching things move through the mind. Sometimes they need to go somewhere, and it's more sturdy. The more you use containment, the stronger it gets. Definitely recommend using it before it's needed, just like any other skill that you want to practice. When you're practicing, Olympic athletes don't practice at the Olympics, they practice before. And then when they're in the heat of the moment, those skills are ready and waiting for them. This is true of containment, that if you're at a 5 or above out of distress, 0 to 10, if you're 5 or above, it's going to be harder to contain. Unless you've been practicing, it is a muscle. So we developed a container, we practice, we don't assume it's not working. If things come back up, we just contain again. And we do this as many times as necessary until the container is strong enough. Sometimes it feels nice to have additional levels of security. So you've got your container, everything's contained within it. You set it aside, and then maybe you need a guard at the gate, an animal, a knight. Sometimes people want to move it off planet or into the ocean, send the container down the river, whatever you need to make it to feel super secure. All right, so now we're going to practice. So we're going to take a few minutes just to drop into the body. Close your eyes if you like. Pull up that image of your container. Notice if it feels right to open the lid, or maybe there's a magic slot where you can stick things in so the lid doesn't have to be opened. You're just getting that image of your container. And now we'll set one thing in there. And then close the lid. And then drop back into the body and see what you notice. Any positive or neutral sensations, just breathe into that for a moment. Sometimes people feel lighter, freer, more present. If there's any sensations that are on the other end of the spectrum from positive or neutral, maybe distressing or negative in some way, just spend a moment acknowledging what that is. And see if it's willing to move into the container, just for now. All right, now scan back through the body. And just breathe into that greater sense of freedom and lightness. Maybe there's more space. And then recheck the body and see if there's anything else remaining. And just keep doing this. That's it. As you feel more present and grounded, you're welcome to tap that in. Nice and steady. Breathing into that. Pause and take a nice breath. Continue to practice this throughout the day, anytime you may need it, or ahead of when you need it. Good luck. See you next time.